I'd like you to imagine your dream life. See the version of you who has what you want to have, feels how you want to feel, and is who you want to be. I'm Brittany Hoopes, your hypnotherapist and manifestation coach, and this is the show where I'll teach you to master the full power of your mind, to guide you on your journey towards destination manifestation.
Take a step back.
Hello there. You are listening to Destination Manifestation, where I help you align your mind so that you can manifest your dreams. Hello there. I am Brittany Hoopes. I am so glad you're back here for another episode. And if you're already subscribed to the show, thank you. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for believing in your dreams. I really do appreciate it. And today, we're going to turbocharge whatever you've been working on in terms of your manifestations, okay? Because we're diving into the rocky waters of resistance. Now, this is like a buzzword in the manifestation community, okay? Resistance. It's this word that we use in manifestation and spirituality. So when I say resistance, do you even know what I mean? So it's an umbrella term for a whole bunch of negative feelings, okay? It's when your heart, meaning your desire, that desire for that manifestation, and your actual manifestation, which is the realization of that desire, when both are pointed in the same and right direction. And yet you are dragging your feet, throwing that internal toddler tantrum, doing everything in your power to resist moving in that same direction. Essentially, you're moving in the opposite direction. You got your desire going this way, and you're moving in the opposite direction. Resistance feels like anxiety. Resistance feels like doubt. It feels like clinging onto your comfort zones for dear life. I know when I am in a state of resistance, okay, in my brain, how I know when I'm experiencing resistance is that it kind of sort of feels like the static sort of fuzzy feeling. And I just want to be like, man, I don't want to do anything. And I just feel awful. And from this state of resistance, we usually freeze up, or we drag our feet, or we procrastinate, or there's so many other things, actions or inactions, none of which actually help us get any closer to our dreams and our goals. And resistance can take on so many different flavors. It's usually created by a negative thought, a thought that doesn't feel good to think, a thought that doesn't support the reality or the realness of our dreams. It's like you think a thought, I can't do this. And the universe is like, and it hits that buzzer on that thought, and it sort of jolts us. It stings with that negative emotion. Because the moment you have a desire, it's created energetically in the quantum field. It exists. And so when you have a resistant thought, a thought that doesn't honor the realness of this manifestation that's already been energetically created, it's like the universe is hitting a buzzer being like, you're wrong. It is real. That thought you're thinking is not true because it's real. And that when that buzzer sounds, that's when we get that twinge of that negative feeling. It's the universe saying, wrong. Here, let me alert you with this negativity that doesn't feel good. Will it catch your attention? And that's the real question. Will it catch your attention? It kind of reminds me of, those electric fences. I hate them, but those electric fences for dogs, right? The dog feels that buzz and they know, oh, this doesn't feel good. I'm not going to walk any further. And therefore they stay in their yard. But for us, we feel the buzz of that negative thought through our negative emotion, and we just keep dragging our feet forward, just pushing through it, wondering why life feels so miserable and hard and like a constant electric shock of negative emotion. We just think, oh, it's life. What if it was saying, don't go that direction anymore? Don't think that direction anymore. But oftentimes we don't do this. So today we're going to cover the real reason for lessening your resistance. Not only because it just feels better when you do so. No one likes that buzzy feeling in your brain or the tug of war in your heart. but we'll cover the role that resistance plays in allowing you to manifest your dreams. So I want you to think of any number of examples of resistance in your life, okay? Maybe you're a mom and you've experienced the old toddler drop. That's what my husband and I like to call it, the toddler drop. I think we've all seen a toddler throw a tantrum and just go limp in their mother's arms, in the checkout line at Target or in the toy aisle of the store, right? When that toddler determines they aren't moving and they're not having it, it is very difficult to get them to see a different way, right? That mom is trying to pick up that toddler and the toddler is refusing to leave that spot. It can be comical, to say the least. Or if you've ever seen a dog, dogs do this too. I love how I use the example of toddlers and dogs because they're both pure subconscious minds, which I think tells us something about how our brain works. If you've ever seen a dog on a walk who's just decided that he's done walking or that he wants to go home, he just stops and plops down and the owner essentially has to drag him on home or eventually just has to try to pick him up and physically move him, which can be pretty funny to watch if it's a big dog. All those examples are examples of resistance. Or really, truly, the simplest example I could give is that game of tug of war. You remember that old field day game you would play in school? So if you're watching the video version of the show, I've sort of concocted a little example to be able to show you out of some items that I have here on my desk. Okay. So I want you to imagine that you got this rope, this tug of war here, right? Or it's a phone charger. And I want you to imagine that your manifestations are on this side. They're team A. Okay. Woo, team A, your manifestations, they exist, your desire, it's all on this team. It's the universe's team, okay? And so let's say that you're wanting to manifest a greater sense of freedom. It feels like everyone is telling you what to do at work, at home, and you just want that free feeling to just pursue your passions. That's what you want to manifest, to do what you love to do. And so you want to manifest this state of being, this state of freedom. And I like to use this example because I think that sometimes we forget that you can actually manifest emotional states. We're always so focused on those tangible goals, the manifesting of the house or the soulmate, a thing, a person, a situation, something that we can physically touch. But you can also manifest states of being, ways of being in the same exact way. So you have team A is your manifestation of the sense of freedom. And the moment that sucky boss of yours says something sucky to you and you have that desire, whether it's conscious or not, that's like, I just want to do what I want to do. That freedom is born. It exists. Team A starts pulling on this rope, meaning the universe starts to direct you, lead you towards the manifestation of that free state of mind, that free state of being. Now, let's just say you're completely on board. You believe in that. You're great. The universe and your desire would pull you towards it. You're the little pen here in the center, would just go straight to that sense of freedom. Done. Manifested. You're there. You and freedom exist as one. La-di-da, whoop-de-doo, right? But that doesn't usually happen. What usually happens is universe, your desire starts pulling and then the resistance comes up. Team A, here, the universe, your freedom, is doing a fantastic job. It's leading you, pulling you, directing you towards your desire. But you have a thought, okay? And that's Team B over on this side now. And that thought either believes and supports your manifestation, or it contradicts it or denies your manifestation. So let's say that you have the thought, oh, I have to work overtime this weekend. My boss is going to be pissed if I don't finish this report. And I hate how handcuffed I feel to my laptop. And you're just griping and grimacing and complaining about how utterly trapped you are at this job. Okay. That thought, the power of that thought is the exact opposite of freedom. It's pulling you in this direction. And so it exerts a force in the opposite direction as the existence of your freedom. So you got Team A, the universe pulling you this way. You have your thoughts pulling you that way. And so that's when we get stuck in this tug of war. Any doubt, any excuse, anything that doesn't match the energy of total belief pulls you in the opposite direction. And just see, if you're this pen and you got your thoughts pulling this way and you got the universe and your desire pulling you this way, where does that leave you? Not moving at all. You're stuck here in the middle. You don't move at all. You're stuck. Team A, belief, pulling you in one direction, and Team B, disbelief, pulling you in the other, and therefore you don't see any movement. And you wonder, why are my manifestations not here yet? They're here. You just aren't where they are because there's this other force pulling you the other way. Or here's how I explained it to a client the other day, which I love this metaphor too, because I love me a good destination manifestation road trip metaphor. Okay? It's like you are in a car and every thought that you have that supports your belief in your manifestation, it moves and fuels that car forward, okay, down the road. 1 mile, it gets you 1 mile closer to destination manifestation, where your manifestation lives. But every thought that you have that doubts or introduces negativity or non-belief to your manifestation, that's like you putting your car in reverse and then hitting gas. That's using that negative momentum to go backwards. And so for this particular client where I was giving this example, for him, he had been pursuing a manifestation for over a decade. But it doesn't even matter how long you've been doing it. If you keep going 1 mile forward and then 1 mile in reverse and then 1 mile forward and then 1 mile in reverse, you could do that for an entire decade and not make any progress. You could be just stuck in the same exact position. What needs to happen is that you make it 1 mile forward and then you stop giving your attention to whatever put your car in reverse. You stop giving your attention to those thoughts that don't support the realness of your manifestation. So in his case, it was listening to his family. Whether it was consciously or subconsciously, it was taking on their thoughts of disbelief and adopting them as his own. They doubted his manifestation. And so he would get really into believing in himself, right? That would put him 1 mile closer towards destination manifestation. But then his family would say something like, oh, that's never going to happen to you. And even if he didn't feel like he believed them, there was a part of him, even since childhood, that always sort of listened to them and cared what they thought. And so that was putting his car in reverse. And this is what is happening when we feel stuck and we don't see any progress with our manifestations. It's because you aren't moving forward. And I don't mean not moving forward, because a part of you is, but you're not moving into uncharted new territory. You're not making ground on your manifestations. So how do we lessen this resistance? How do we continue that positive momentum towards our dreams without throwing our car in reverse? How do we ensure that Team A, the universe, the belief in our dreams always wins? That tug of war, or that we don't even play tug of war to begin with. We need to make sure that our thoughts match the thoughts of the universe. We need to make sure that our thoughts, our frequency, the frequency that is created by our thoughts and our feelings, are pointed in that same direction. Because when they're pointed in the same direction, there's no game of tug of war to begin with. It's just the universe pulling on a rope and us going with it. It's just surrender. Because if your thoughts were moving in the same direction or match the universe's belief in your manifestation, there'd be zero resistance. Both ends of this rope, okay? You see this rope, right? Both ends of this rope would be on the same side and you'd just be there. Yay! You're there now. You're not here. You're there. So when you think in the same direction as your dreams, meaning that you believe in them, you think thoughts that the version of you who had that manifestation would think. That's when you are no longer caught, stuck here in the middle, right? But you move closer to that manifestation. And things begin to move and change for you. So let's just take our freedom example, okay? It's when you're thinking thoughts like, oh, I'm so excited to do my own thing. I'm capable of this. I'm charting a plan so that I can be my own boss. I'm already a total boss. I know exactly what to do. My boss can say whatever he wants, but it's just a matter of days. It's just a matter of time until I'm working for myself. Thank you, universe, for the opportunity to follow my passions every day. I love how good it feels to feel so free and find that sense of freedom. Maybe felt a really good sense of freedom when you were on a vacation before, so you know what that feels like. Or maybe that beautiful day off where you worked on your passion project. You felt so free. Tap into that sense of freedom. That's the frequency of freedom, right? And so it's finding these thoughts ahead of time, thinking them on purpose, and thinking in the direction of where you're going. Not where you are, not where you were, but where you're going. So I'll tell you, I was having a chat with a friend of mine. She's another fabulous manifestation coach who's actually going to be on the podcast here very, very soon. So I can't wait to share you some more details with you guys about that. But like you'll hear in a future episode, we have somewhat similar manifestation origin stories, if you will. We both had a tremendous amount of resistance. Okay, resistance to the point where that resistance was life-threatening. In my case, it came in the form of depression, right? And then we both released that resistance in a really big way. And we started moving in the direction of our dreams. And our dreams just started flooding in. She has a very similar experience to me here too. And so it's kind of like our tug of war example, right? There was so much pulling from team B, okay? My thoughts, the depression, the negativity. And there was so much pulling from team A, the universe and my desires, even while I was depressed. My desire was growing bigger and bigger and bigger and stronger and stronger and stronger, that when I finally used hypnosis to relieve that resistance, it was like I dropped that rope all at once. And you can see what happens to little pin version of me. When you drop that rope all at once, you are flung towards your manifestations. Okay? You just, boom, you go there. I'm sure if you've ever played tug of war, you know what I'm talking about. Even if you have a basic understanding of physics, you know what I'm talking about. You know what happens when there's a tremendous amount of pressure from both sides of tug of war, and then one side drops their rope all at once. Well, I can tell you because I experienced it. You get flung towards team A, flung towards your desires. Everything just pours into your life very, very, very quickly. For me, my business just grew overnight. It just spread like wildfire. I went from part-time to full-time in my business in 6 months. I got cast on the CBS TV show Big Brother. So many beautiful, miraculous things happened so quickly for me. And it was just, oh my gosh, it was the most fun I've ever had in my life. It was beautiful. It was because all that momentum was built. And me and this friend, she has a very similar story, and I'll let her tell her story here on the show. It was funny, we were talking about it because I think this idea explains how when you have a lot of resistance and then you release it all at once, things start happening in your life in a really big way. Now, if you don't have a tremendous desire for something, okay, so team A isn't pulling on that rope all that much. It's just kind of like, meh, 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 not pulling very much at all. And team B, your thoughts, isn't pulling much either. And so you just release that resistance. It's just kind of like, it's just a little, it just sort of gently pulls it along, right? But if you have a strong desire and you have a lot of resistance to let go of, it can fling you towards that quantum leap. So be ready for that. But what I will say, what oftentimes happens, I say happens more often than not, and I say this especially with my clients, is that someone will have all this resistance and all this desire. They'll be stuck in the middle, and then they'll give up a little bit of the resistance. And so they're kind of, it's almost like they're giving up ground in tug of war. And so they notice themselves start to move a little closer to their goal. They're not all the way there yet. They haven't just manifested something overnight, but they're a little bit closer. And then when they see themselves moving a little bit closer, they're like, ooh, I want to do that again. And so they give up a little less resistance. And they give up a little bit more ground, right, on their resistance. And they move closer and closer to their manifestation. And they keep on doing that. They keep on beginning to believe more and more in their dreams because it's easier to believe more and more your dreams the closer and closer you get. And that releases more resistance. And then it just sort of happens a bit more gradually over time, more and more, until all of a sudden they find themselves having manifested their desire. Both ways, whether you're flung there or whether it happens gradually over time, both are fine. It's just all about how much desire you have and how quickly you can let go of that resistance. Okay? What's the strength of Team A, the universe, versus how much resistance you're giving up at any given time? How many doubts, how many negative beliefs are you relinquishing at any given time? That just determines how fast this happens for you. So how do we release the resistance? Well, I already shared with you the tool that helped me so very much, so much that I dedicated my freaking life to studying it and perfecting it and helping others utilize its power. And that's hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy facilitates the state of non-resistance. That's essentially what it is. Accessing a state within your mind of pure non-resistance. It's one of the reasons why it is so very effective for depression, because a depressed brain is an exhausted brain. Think about that. All that pulling in the opposite direction, it just wears out your brain muscles, okay? All that thinking, those negative thoughts, it's quite literally exhausting to the brain. And so even just the experience of relaxation, just the relaxation component of hypnosis is a resistance lessening experience. Purely because it just stops that negative chatter, even just for 30 minutes or an hour or however long you're in a session. That's why I'll have some of my clients, they'll message me and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I felt so amazing during the session. And for like half a day afterwards, I felt awesome. But then it wore off. And I kind of laugh because it doesn't wear off. It would be there. It's just you started pulling again. It was for that moment, you were moving towards your desires, then you started pulling with your negative thoughts again. You fall back in those habits of resistance. But the good news is, with enough training, with enough repetition within the state of hypnosis, you can teach your brain to stop pulling in that opposite direction, to go with the flow, to surrender, to trust, to let go of the reins, to stop pulling. Or like Abraham Hicks often says, the path of least resistance, the downstream thoughts, right? The thoughts that are just going to take you there. That's because Abraham knows that the universe is always pulling that rope, and you'll just go right along with it towards the direction of your dreams. So, yes, hypnosis is literally accessing the theta brainwave state, which is the state of non-resistance. It's a deeply relaxed, natural state of mind where your subconscious mind is more open and receptive to thought, meaning it's not pulling that rope quite as much in the opposite direction. Your subconscious mind has let down the rope. It's no longer pulling. And so we can say, hey, mind, let's move in this direction instead. Let's think these sort of thoughts automatically so that it stops pulling more and more and more and starts resisting less and less and less. And so we reprogram the mind to think thoughts automatically that lessen that resistance so that you can feel better. Because good feeling emotions are always a sign of non-resistance, right? The good feeling emotions are the universe's way of saying, yes, good, you're on the right track, keep going. And therefore you can take those actions that actually support your dreams. So why even bother letting go of resistance? Why not just be in this perpetual tug of war state 24/7 for the rest of your life? I feel like I kind of answer that question just by phrasing it that way, right? It just feels good. It's just a nice state to be in. To be in a state of non-resistance is to be clear-minded, is to be connected to that energy of source, the energy of all that is, to be in a place of contentment and peace. Oh, it sounds lovely, doesn't it? It's a state of trust and relaxation. Our nervous systems are regulated there. The tension in our muscles dissipate. It's just literally the best physical and mental state that we could literally, as humans, can attain. And so without resistance, there's nothing separating you from your manifestations. You and your manifestations are one. You know those people in your life, I'm sure you can think of somebody who just seems lucky. They just seem like luck just follows them around. The reasoning for this is that they just have zero resistance on that subject. It just flows to them. They're moving in the same direction as their desires. They're like, yeah, I'm lucky when it comes to this. They believe it. Them and their desires are in the exact same place. They're thinking in the same direction as their desires. So a lot of times my clients will ask me about the timing, right? They'll be like, when's my manifestation coming? When is it coming? When is it coming? Which inherently, let me just point that out, right? When your manifestation is pulling you this direction, let me get this guy. When your manifestation's pulling you in this direction, and then you're like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? That's going to keep you stuck, right? Because thinking where is not the same direction as it being there. I usually say that the timing of your manifestation is in direct proportion to the amount of resistance that you have on that subject. It's just like with that car. How fast can you get to destination manifestation? Well, it depends on how fast you're moving in the direction of your dreams and how often you're either stopping or reversing. If you're not stopping or reversing all that much and you're going very fast, you'll get there very quickly. If you're stopping and reversing more than you're moving forward, you will not get there very quickly. How quick can you let go of that tug of war rope of negative thought and allow the universe, team A, to reel you on in towards your dreams? How quick are you able to do that? How much are you able to surrender? How much are you able to trust? That will determine the timing. So, hypnotherapy, one way to majorly reduce resistance. In terms of other resources that can help you release resistance, there are actually so many. Actually, I was rating the other day, I was rating my virtual bookshelves of all my manifestation, my favorite books, my favorite meditations, my favorite hypnosis audios, all these things, right? Because I've been studying manifestation since I was 18 years old, which means I've been studying it for 16 years. Isn't that crazy? 2 more years from now, I will have had manifestation in my life for the same amount of time as I didn't, which is nuts. So you can imagine in 16 years' time, an avid bookworm like myself who pretty much exclusively reads self-improvement books for fun. I've read quite a few books during that time. I've tried and developed quite a few hypnosis audio recordings and other resources and programs and all these things, right? And some have been kind of meh, and others have been absolutely life-changing. And so the other day I was going through these resources and I was sort of cherry picking the very best ones. And then I categorized them, because I'm a freak, into kind of the flavor of resistance that they'd be best used to dissolve. And so what I mean by that is negative self-talk is kind of a flavor of resistance. Procrastination is another flavor of resistance. Fear is a flavor of resistance, right? And so I came up with 8 different resistance flavors. It's kind of this little fun doomsday snack pack of resistance that you might feel, that are the most common that I see across my clients. I would say like 99% of all resistance falls into one of these 8 different kinds of resistance, right? And so then I took all my favorite resources and I thought, ooh, this resource would be really great for this type of resistance. And this resource would be really great for this type of resistance. And I sort of sorted them by what they would best be able to relieve, what sort of resistance they would best be able to help. It's a really nifty list. And so I put it all and I categorized it all pretty and I made it into a Google Doc that I could share. And so at first I thought, oh, this will just be really helpful. I'll use this as a reference. So whenever I'm working with clients, I have like kind of built-in recommended resources that I thought would be really good for them. And then I thought, wait, I think this could really help someone who finds themselves stuck in a state of resistance and who wants to jumpstart their manifestations. I think this resource would actually be a beautiful starting place. So, yeah, I decided to make it public to you guys. I decided to make it available to you all for free. So, if you look in the show notes for this episode, or if you go to brittanyhoopes.com/manifestation-toolkit, you'll get access to over 70 manifestation resources. Yeah, and those are just the best ones. I'm telling you, I've done quite a few. Some of those resources are free. Some of them are paid. They're an assortment of books and hypnosis audio recordings and meditations and programs and modalities. I mean, you'll find everything on that list. And all of them will help you relieve what we were talking about today, help you relieve resistance so that you can get unstuck and move closer to your dreams. So I just want to thank you, travelers, for joining us here today on this journey towards destination manifestation. We were all full flung ahead, no reversing in this episode, right? You are absolutely incredible. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to this podcast so you can get every single episode and keep moving that car towards your destination. No stopping, no reversing, only moving forward towards your dreams. And the one other thing that I'd like you to do after listening to this episode is this. Go download that free resource toolkit. I'm telling you, this is a gold mine. I am so happy to be able to offer this full curated list of tools that you can use to release and lessen any form of resistance that you may be feeling right now. I will say I personally had so much fun creating the list, and actually it was a huge expanding opportunity for me. I felt so super inspired as I was creating this because I was looking at all these beautiful books that had absolutely changed my life. And I was like, I want to write a book. Like, I want to be a book resource on this list. Now, of course, there's all my free hypnosis audios that I offer you all are in this list and included in this toolkit. But I wanted to be a book resource because there was no books that I have written on that list because I haven't written a book yet. I wanted to write a book and be on that list. The urge was like so strong. And I was like, okay, I hear you, universe. I could hear the universe being like, pulling me. Team A was like, Brittany, book. And so the urge is just kind of getting stronger and stronger as time goes by. And making this toolkit was really just very eye-opening for me. So I'm going to start thinking in the direction of that dream here. I'm going to noodle on that for a bit. But in the meantime, check out the link in the show notes to get that guide for yourself. Since it's a Google Doc, I'll always be making updates to it and adding new things to it. So head over to brittanyhoopes.com/manifestation-toolkit, or you can find the link in the show notes to access it now. All music for this podcast is by A Cubed. And remember, the quicker and more completely that you let go of resistance on an issue, the faster you'll get to destination manifestation. I'll catch you next time.
I don't know.